Action SA says it's disappointed by the Electoral Court rejecting its ballot paper challenge. The court has ruled against Action SA's application to include the party's full name on ballot papers. The party can now only be identified by its logo. The IEC argued it was the Action SA's fault because it failed to submit an abbreviated name when it first registered. National Chairperson for the party, Michael Beaumont, joins us in studio. Michael, thanks for your time. Welcome, by the way. First time I'm speaking to you on set.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about this ruling. It is definitely going to be a blow for you because you were worried that you wouldn't be identified on the ballot paper easily.
Yeah, it certainly is a challenge, and to say anything else would be fake, given that we've just been to the court, so clearly it was an issue that we felt compelled to approach the courts on an urgent basis and address. But like all things, we have to adapt, and Action SA will adapt. I'm very pleased to say that I've come from a meeting with the leadership of Action SA, and we're already talking about how we're going to be able to turn this into an advantage.
How are you?
Well, I think we've got an opportunity to make South Africans aware of our situation and to drive a very unique differentiating factor, in that Action SA is different on the ballot paper now to every other party. And if we are able to spend the next 7 days communicating with South Africans and helping them to identify us on the ballot paper, we're going to try and make sure we use that to our advantage.
Yeah, so basically the only party without a name next to it, you're going to say vote for that one, right?
Well, yes, among very many other things. But I suppose the old adage is true that in crisis must come opportunity.
Yeah. So how do you use the next 7 days? I'm sure you're going to go on social media campaigns, probably marketing, advertising campaigns as well to try to get this message across. If people miss that, though, can you be easily identified by your logo?
Yes, absolutely. And I think the big thing that we're going to try and get right as the most important point of contact with South Africans is going to be outside the voting stations. So we're going to be outside the voting stations. We're going to prepare mock or dummy ballot papers that demonstrate where Action SA is in each respective ward and on the PR ballot. And we're going to have conversations outside the perimeter of the voting station where we are allowed to with voters about how they identify Action SA on the ballot paper.
Wait, but I thought you're not allowed to campaign 24 hours before the poll.
You're not allowed to advertise, and you're not allowed to engage in campaign activities that restrict movement, like rallies and marches and that kind of thing. But the idea of political parties setting up outside the perimeter of the voting station and engaging voters is a long-held tradition in South Africa.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a careful line, though, right, that you can't really cross. So you're going to basically educate people about what the ballot paper is going to look without your name be there and, you know, your logo basically very prominent. Just in terms of this having a negative impact on you, especially in smaller wards, that is going to happen, right?
It's a challenge we're going to have to deal with. I'm still very confident that Action SA is strong on the ground. We are blessed to have volunteers and ground structures that are situated in every corner of the places that we are contesting and beyond. And that we know that we're going to use those individuals to help us speak to voters and make sure that we do not have people who come to the polls and get confused by this issue and don't get to cast the vote the way they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure after the election you're going to make all the necessary changes to ensure that the IEC has all your details correctly.
We're going to have to consider a lot of things, but essentially what we're looking at now is a judgment that doesn't come with its reasoning yet. And we want to see the reasoning, obviously, because we also need to watch out in this election that Action SA and its supporters do not experience a prejudice that requires us to examine whether this election is in fact free and fair.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, though, given the pandemic, and then, of course, you know, many analysts expecting a low turnout because of the pandemic. Do you think you're going to have any advantage in your message? Because I'm moving away now from the court ruling.
Sure.
Just in terms of your messaging and promises to South Africans as a new party in this municipal election.
You know, I don't think necessarily from the low turnout environment. We would like to see more and more people turning out. I think we are blessed as an organisation that we have secured support across all demographics, which is unique in Action SA relative to other political parties. We want to see people turning out to vote, and we want to see people having confidence that they can do so safely because the IEC is taking measures to keep them safe and communicating it across the board.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think what is positioning Action SA very effectively is an environment where people are fed up with the politics of this country. And there's an extent to which the environment has never been better for a party to come in and offer something different.
What's your support looking like? I'm sure you've run your own analysis on the percentage you're going to get or how many people are supporting you or not. Is it
Certainly.
Good?
Look, it is. And we've completed a poll for Johannesburg, which we have published. It's always important to say that polls have a degree of variability in this election more than any other. And we must always have that qualifying factor rather than claiming the ones we like and disassociating from the ones we don't. But in that poll for Johannesburg, Action SA has been put ahead of all the other parties, polling at 31%, which was ahead of the ANC at 30%, and that's down from their 44% in 2016. And the DA on 24%, which is down from their 38%. And the EFF down from 12 until 7. That's the polling we've done in the city of Joburg. And we are about to complete some polling in the city of Tshwane, which I look forward to communicating to the people of that city.
Yeah, are you open to coalition governments?
Absolutely. And I think any party that thinks that coalitions aren't the future of South Africa is dreaming. I think the reality is that coalitions are going to be with us for a very long time to come. And what is required are political parties and voters having conversations about what is a healthy kind of coalition, what is a stable kind of coalition, and what is a coalition that puts the interests of people first and not just parties and politicians.
Yeah. You know, the key about a coalition, from what we've seen with the Johannesburg coalition that was held, is that one party tries to always influence the other in terms of what they want compared to the mayor in charge. Now, Helen Zille was saying that Herman Mashaba was playing to the EFF's agendas instead of the DA's. So how do you ensure that you are going, if you are in coalition and Herman Mashaba becomes mayor of Joburg again, how do you decide that you stick to your principles as Action SA?
Well, look, I'm going to respond to that question because I think we shouldn't be spending too much time talking about what Helen Zille thinks. I think this is a serious interview. But I think the reality is that you've got to have political parties that collaborate. I think it's an arrogant idea to think that any one political party has a monopoly on solutions, especially at local government level, Shahan, and I want to make that point, is that local government is not ideological. You can cooperate with political parties that would not agree at a national government level when you're dealing with economic policy and international relations and various other very difficult issues. But when you're dealing with electricity and water and roads and housing and billing, these are things that everyone agrees. I mean, there's a lot of ground to cooperate. And that's why these coalitions need the kind of leadership that Herman Mashaba demonstrated in the city of Joburg, because it was collaborative.
Yeah. Good answer. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. That, of course, is Action SA's National Chairperson, Michael Beaumont.